Hello everyone. I decided to split the course logistics into two separate videos in the last minute. My apologies for that. I also realized that I missed mentioning something about the lab component in the previous video. If you're a CS319 student, you would have enrolled into a lecture section instead of a lab section. We still expect you to go through the first 9 labs which are associated with the first 9 programming projects. Since the labs are meant to be self-guided, we feel confident that you should be able to go through the labs on your own time. Feel free to use office hours to get any of your lab-based questions clarified. Let me talk about how grading works for this course. We have 4 graded components. The first major component is the projects, which constitute 49% of your grade. The second component is weekly quizzes, which account for 20% of your grade. The third component is the exams, which constitute 30% of your grade. Finally, we have communication, which is for 1% of your grade. Please do make sure to fill out the Who Are You survey form because it is part of the 1% communication grade. Also sign up to Piazza, which again is part of the 1% communication grade. I'll be talking about each of these components in detail in the upcoming slides. Let me first give you a sense about the final letter grade curving. We provide the following guarantees with respect to letter grades. A score of at least 95% guarantees an A grade, at least 85% guarantees B, at least 70% guarantees C, at least 60% guarantees D. We are unable to provide guarantees about intermediate letter grades, which are A, B, B, C, and so on. I want to make sure that I set very clear expectations at the beginning of the semester itself. This is a very competitive course, mainly because we make the projects component extremely flexible. You'll be able to understand the details of that shortly. Because of that reason, we don't expect the A grade cutoff to go much lower than 95%. So please make sure to stay on top of things and keep up with all the deadlines associated with this course to make sure that you're able to score well in all the course components. Let me give you more details about the project component. If you're a CS220 student, you'll be working on 13 weekly projects which are evenly weighted excepting for project P1. If you're a CS319 student, you'll be working on 9 programming projects, following which you'll be working on a self-guided graduate level project. For all the CS220 projects, we'll be sharing auto-graded test scripts with you. You'll be given a set of questions and the auto-graded test scripts will give you the answers to those questions. All that you're expected to do is to write the correct program that produces the output for a given question by doing the data analysis. Let me show you a useful plot with respect to the project component. Here is a plot that shows how useful projects were found to be by prior CS220 students in the fall 2020 semester. As you can see, majority of the students found the project component to be extremely useful or very useful or at least useful. I hope all of you will enjoy going through the projects. The cool thing about this plot is that at the end of this semester, if I were to give you the data set for this plot, you'll be able to reproduce this plot on your own. You'll be learning that closer to the third part of this course. Let me give you a sense of project timelines. All projects will be due at 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, which is Madison CST time. Overall, you'll get 10 late days to use throughout the course of this semester. It's totally up to you to make sure that you do not exceed the overall late days by any more than 10 late days. So how can you use late days? You can simply turn in your project late after the deadline using the same submission tool, and we will be calculating your late days using a late day calculator. Feel free to get help in any of the ways that I have already mentioned. I've gone through most of these already, so I'll be skipping that. Other than late days, you will also be allowed to do resubmissions for the projects. The way that resubmissions work is that for a given project, once you get a grade, you'll have 1 week from the day on which you receive the grade to resubmit the project and to make improvements for your project submission. Hence, the extreme flexibility of the project component. This guarantees that you can score full project grade provided you're willing to put in the effort for it. Let me talk about pair programming. I strongly encourage all the students in this course to find a project partner to work with. Pair programming is really effective because you can learn from each other's style of programming. How can you find project partners? Please use the Discord server. The details can be found on the course website. CS220 students are allowed to partner with any CS220 students immaterial of the section that the students are enrolled in. CS319 students can only partner with CS319 students, mainly because all of you will be working on a self-guided project closer to the end of the semester. Let me talk about what accounts for good partnership when it comes to pair programming. The best practice would be to work alongside each other, which I can totally understand will be challenging because of the COVID circumstances. We encourage you to try to collaborate via BBC or Google Meet or any other favorite platform for collaboration. So, what is a bad practice when it comes to pair programming? Couple of things break syllabus rules, and I want to make absolutely clear that if any of these are brought to my attention, the student who is associated with breaking these rules will be receiving a 0 score for the project. Let me give you a sense of what breaks the syllabus rules. You cannot simply come up with an agreement with your project partner saying that you'll both work on alternate projects individually. That doesn't make any sense. Similarly, you can't split a project into two halves and work on the individual halves. You need to make sure that you're able to understand all of the project coding components together as a team. Please make sure to collaborate with your project partner even if you decide to write code for a particular question separately. You just need to make sure that you both collaborate after writing the individual solutions. When you pair up with a project partner, please turn in only one copy of the project from one of the logins. If you turn in two copies of your project will be flagged by the automated cheating detector, which will cause additional work for the TAs. Please do make sure that that doesn't happen. Let me talk about how project grading works. You will be writing the code for your project and then you'll be running the auto-grader test program on your laptop. You will get a predicted test score for the auto-grader test run. Then you'll be submitting your project and then a TA will be running the test program to generate the test score. That will not be your final test score because the TA will be manually grading your project and they will decide any deductions based on the guidelines that they come up with for every project, and then you'll get a final score. Usually, predicted test score will be very close to the final score, but sometimes that might be drastically different. Why would that happen? Let's say that you're writing your project code in a Windows laptop and the TA is running the test program on a Linux environment. Sometimes, because of portability issues, your project might not run on the Linux test environment. We are going to work hard throughout the semester to learn how to write portable code. You just need to make sure that you're following the project guidelines in a correct way such that you'll not be running into any portability related issues. If you do run into those, we will help you figure out the problem and help you fix things. The TAs will then provide feedback to you via code review process, and you're expected to go through the feedback provided to you for every project. If you do think that you can address the feedback via resubmission, you're allowed to resubmit the project exactly once within 1 week after receiving the grade for the project. The resubmission process will require you to fill in a Google form, which can be found on the class survey page. Let me talk about exams and quizzes. Projects are all about writing code and getting practice doing that. Exams and quizzes are all about reading code. Of course, yes, you'll have access to your interpreter and you can run your code to try and understand some of the quiz questions or exam questions. Please keep in mind that both quizzes and exams will be timed. So you need to make sure that you're making sufficient progress and not getting bogged into the fact that you have interpreter access. Quizzes and exams will be multiple choice or multiple answer or any of the Canvas format based questions. The quizzes will be weekly and you'll be given 2 attempts for the quiz. We'll be taking the score from the best out of the 2 attempts. All the due dates for the quizzes are already put up on the course website. All the due dates for the programming projects are also put up on the course website. The exams will be held within a 24-hour window period within which you can take the exam, which will be a 2-hour exam. Exams will be similar to quizzes. The exam timings or the dates for the exams are also given on the course website schedule page. I would strongly encourage all of you to go add every quiz deadline, project deadline, and the exam deadline to your favorite calendars to make sure that you're not missing any of the deadlines. Since we'll be dropping 2 quizzes, we will not be able to accommodate any of the missed quiz requests. You have a little bit of flexibility there. So I would still encourage you to make sure that you have your calendar updated for all the due dates for this course. I'll wrap up this video here. In the next video, I'll briefly talk about computer hardware terminology that I might use over the course of this semester.